Welcome back in to the early line. It's hour number 2 on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh and Donnie Wrightshead, and I got to tell you, folks, little quick behind-the-scenes look. Yesterday, setting this whole deal up here, right? Trying to figure out where we want to place everything, and then it just it hit me. Usually on Tuesday, we do the early lines, a look ahead to the lines that are coming up the week, see where the movement is, the early expectations. And then I realized this is where we should be talking about these games right here, right now, because we are close to the NFL season coming. And I got to also say quickly, Donnie, part of the reason I was excited to put this in is I know how happy you get when we get to spin it around for the next half hour, basically, here, talking some Week 1 NFL lines.
No, I do like it, too. And also, people have to understand as well, like, we got to do this on Tuesday because Kevin just mysteriously goes off into orbit on Wednesdays and then somehow flies back on Thursdays and we start talking football again. So that's the real setup behind the scenes, people, just to let you know.
Here's the thing, but not only do I mysteriously leave into orbit, so do all of our fans, as they're not tuning into this thing unless old K-Dub is here. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's talk about game 1 of the season, the Bills and the Rams. A massive, massive game where the initial line surprised me on Buffalo. I know everybody loves the Bills, but I thought the defending Super Bowl champions at home could at least muster out being pick in their building. Then we saw the Matthew Stafford elbow concern pop up, and this went from a 1.5-point line on Buffalo to a 2.5-point line on Buffalo. And it's now settled here. Total is 52.5. Two very, very talented offenses. The expectation certainly is points. But when you see Rams-Bills with the Super Bowl champs as a home dog, what jumps out to you?
It does jump out because it means there's a lot of respect for the Buffalo Bills, and rightfully so, coming into the season as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Now, there is only one, bye that we talk about now, as it used to be 2 in the NFL, that you try to clamor for. And for the Buffalo Bills, it's apparent. They need that home field advantage. They're tired of going on the road to getting beat by teams like Kansas City, who have that elite football team, but also an elite home field advantage, which the Buffalo Bills will have. But entering into this, I do think there's a little bit of slight on the Rams. I understand the fact that the Rams played more football than anybody last year because they went to the Super Bowl. I get it. And maybe there's a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover where you celebrated a little bit too much in the offseason, and then it's time to get back to football. Some question marks there for your all-pro quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Will his elbow be on par? But if I think it's game 1, he's probably going to be the healthiest he's going to be all season long if there is an elbow issue. Again, you're working in some really good wide receivers that you didn't have last year, talking about with the Allen Robinson deal. But this is Sean McVay. It's a world championship team. You have the best defensive lineman in football, probably the best corner in football. They're not coming into this game limping here, and they are home. So it is kind of shocking for me if this line opened up around that 1.5 number, is now sliding closer to the 3-point mark. Let's see where it ends by next Thursday night. But if I'm a Buffalo Bills backer and I see this, that's a lot of respect to go on the road against the Super Bowl champions and be favored in this game.
And the problem I think here is really trying to assess if all of this Bills love is justified. Last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosted the Dallas Cowboys. It was a game that they won as the defending Super Bowl champs, but they didn't cover. But they didn't cover, Donnie, because they were laying, 9.5? If I remember correctly, in that game, it was above a touchdown. Yeah. The Kansas City Chiefs, when they were off their Super Bowl win, they beat the Texans. They did cover, winning by 14. But again, that was a team that was laying double digits in that game. The Rams as a home dog is such a leap right now, and it just feels maybe like a little too much. Our radio audience is here. You're listening to the early lines, Sirius XM Channel 159. Looking at some Week 1 lines here on Sports Grid. Rams-Bills obviously is a huge game. On Sunday, I believe your game of the week has to be Bucs-Cowboys, a rematch from last year, in terms of a Week 1 game. This time, though, in Dallas, and another number that has been on the move, I think related to all of the Tom Brady absences or some offensive line injuries, depends who you are. The Bucs have dropped down now to just a 1.5-point favorite in Dallas. The total here is 49.5. Cowboys, Bucs, I assume you're not even sure if Brady's going to be out there.
Yeah, maybe another vacation before the season starts here. You never know at this point with about a week and a half to go before they actually tee it up. It's a good Sunday night football game and a rematch, as you said there, from last year's opening night where the Buccaneers were getting their rings. And quite frankly, Dallas probably should have won that football game. But looking at this year, it's sort of a role reversal. If I'm going to get Kevin, tell me right now, right? We're sitting here on August 30th. The game's not going to take place till September 11th. Who is going to be healthy in this game? And if you tell me Tom Brady will be there, Mike Evans is going to be healthy, and the rest of, the guys that you need to be there for the Buccaneers, it seems like they should walk away with an easy victory because there's way too many question marks coming out of way here for the Dallas Cowboys. Offensive line, similar with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going through some things here with some injuries, but the overall talent level discrepancy between these two is pretty wide in my part. So I look at that 1.5 in the same way I'm saying opening night where, hey, look at this, the Bills minus 2.5, maybe a little bit disrespectful to the Rams. I think this line might be a little bit disrespectful to Tampa Bay because if you are going to get a healthy opening night Tom Brady, all right, maybe last year Dak Prescott and the Cowboys shocked them a little bit. I don't think that's going to be the case in this game where it's basically CeeDee Lamb and, okay, let's see if we can get enough time to keep Dak upright in this game. I like Tampa Bay early in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised because it is week 1 in the NFL if there are some upsets here, and maybe Dallas can challenge them.
What I think's interesting is that total at 49.5. Now, I know people would maybe say, hey, Rams, Bills, more talented offenses, but defensively, I think the Rams and Bills earn a lot more respect here. I would have thought Cowboys Bucks would have been the game posted at 52.5. It's an interesting number. More week 1 lines right here on the early line.
Might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
In the landscape of college sports, some things remain the same.
College football today.
Of Alabama in winning SEC championship.
It's the island of misfit toys.
Fantasy sports today.
You have to understand that.
Can they survive those first 4 games?
Pro football today.
This franchise, they are comical. Now, I'm not making light of the injuries. This is a brutal rash.
In-game live all access.
You can take the money line.
FanDuel Sportsbook, if you shop around, you can get it at 133. But that's my best bet on the night, Joe. So that's the one I'm going big.
In-game live, prime time.
I'm a bit nostalgic. I'm going with an international, Jason Day and Sergio Garcia.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing elimination?
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The morning after.
Now that preseason has come to a close as we get ready for the regular season when it comes to the weekly handicap of NFL games.
From carrying it over from the preseason to now is that pretty much ignore everything that you saw in the preseason. There's not too much that you should take and carry from there to there. I was out with another guy who said, oh man, he was a Jets fan, and he assured me that they're going to go 500.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
And how about not only winning 8-3, but over the course of this series, Donnie, putting up 22 runs to just 3 for the Blue Jays. They shut them out twice. They absolutely dog-walked this team over 3 games, who, by the way, entered just being swept by the Rays for 4 and having lost 6, I believe, in a row. What an embarrassment here.
Only on Sports Grid.
Early lines, let's continue here on Sports Grid. Panthers-Browns is a really big one. Some people might argue that this is game of the week. It depends kind of how you determine that justification or that label, rather. But Panthers-Browns is a 2.5-point spread now, so the line has moved a little bit. In fact, maybe you can consider it a decent amount because this was a 2.5 Cleveland line for quite some time, which puzzled us. What we now have, the Panthers laying just under the field goal total here, very low, 41.5. We're getting closer to this game, Donnie, although I think I'm going to try and continue to hold off the full analysis as long as I can because, boy, am I flip-flopping in terms of how I think this one will play out.
It's a good point to make, which I like where you're going here because there's a lot to dissect on what the actual Carolina Panthers are going to be for this season in the NFL. If you're trying to play the Carolina Panthers, to me, I probably would want to play them like week 5, week 6, week 7 as you sort of settle into the season because we don't really know if you're like a defensive coordinator what I'm getting here. And the reason I talk about that is their offensive line isn't great here. You're going to go up against a pretty elite pass rush that on one side is Myles Garrett and the other side Jadeveon Clowney. But having said that, Laviska Shenault comes over in a trade from the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a nice move. So now if you're saying if we get to the starting gates healthy, Kevin, just at skill position players, more Shenault and Anderson at wide receiver, and a healthy Christian McCaffrey at running back with a motivated Baker Mayfield to play his old mates at home. And as I said, you want to play them later in the season, let's just say they don't have a great record. So I'm not expecting big things from the Carolina Panthers overall. But the fans, they'll be excited week 1. Baker Mayfield, he'll be excited week 1. And getting the Panthers where, oh my goodness, Christian McCaffrey is healthy, that's a weapon here. So the more I look at this game, I say to myself, it used to be when open up Cleveland Browns -3, -4, and that's even before we knew exactly what was going to happen with Deshaun Watson. We figured he'd be out, but never in my wildest dreams did I think maybe we open up on game day, Kevin, and the Panthers are a 3-point favorite here, and I'm saying, you know what? It makes sense, and I'm taking Carolina.
I think the Panthers, though, find themselves in an odd spot with this total listed at 41.5. I have often said that, this Panthers, the offensive side of the ball is going to be a little underrated. For every game McCaffrey's available, DJ Moore is an underrated talent at the wide receiver position, and I think Baker at this rate is probably an underrated quarterback in the scope of this league. But defensively, there is a gap here between the Browns and the Panthers. And the Browns have a defense that is capable of keeping them in every single game and turning over, certainly, Baker Mayfield. Like, what is the bigger mismatch? Baker versus this Browns defense or Jacoby Brissett versus this Panthers defense? I think it's a very real question here. We shouldn't forget that if Watson was out there and available under the normal set of circumstances, we would be talking about the Browns as a Super Bowl contender. That goes beyond just quarterback play. A very talented roster there, all in all. We're going to find out a ton about both of these football teams early, but really the Browns, who a lot of people think could stay afloat while they're without Watson for 11 games. We're going to find out right away against the Carolina Panthers. Chargers-Raiders is another game that I wanted to bring up here. It's a 3.5-point spread, another big-time total at 52.5. The reason I wanted to bring this up is the AFC West is going to be so important for us to follow. The AFC West has 4 teams that if you pulled out of that division and dropped in another, you would be like, oh, I think I like this group to go out there and win this division, right? If I grabbed Vegas and just slotted them in the AFC East, you'd be like, ooh, okay, maybe they give the Bills a run for their money. If I grabbed the Chargers and put them in the NFC South, there'd be plenty of people picking them to unseat the Tampa Bay Bucks. But it's these AFC West teams that will be going head-to-head all year, and it's those head-to-head matchups that will probably make the difference in terms of who wins this division. It's week 1, sure, but this is an important game between the Chargers and the Raiders.
Yeah, it is. And also, when we're talking about respect here and going over these lines, I got to tell you, the Chargers only being a minus 3.5-point favorite is a lot of respect to what we think about the Las Vegas Raiders this year. It's one of those teams, Kevin, which you could say, like, it's a shame that they're in this division, because if they're in another division, they might be able to legitimately compete for a championship. Talking about just the division title. Now, some people might say right off the bat, Donnie, you're crazy. I actually think the Raiders are going to have a very good season and will challenge, let's just say, the Chargers or the, Kansas City Chiefs, and quite frankly, again, the Denver Broncos. See where I'm going with that? Every team we figure that we mention outside of the Raiders has a legitimate chance and maybe a little bit more talent to win that division. But having said that, when you look at the Chargers, they're at home. An elite offensive line, a young quarterback that in maybe a year or two might take the mantle as the best quarterback in football. Austin Eckler, a fantastic, 3-down type running back that if you get him in space, he can just light your team on fire. And then you look at the wide receiver skill positions here for the Chargers. It's stacked up. Williams, Allen, and Palmer. There's not a lot to dislike about the Chargers, as Kevin would say, outside of their head coach going on for a fourth down every single play. But I want to take the Raiders here with the 3.5 points because I love what they're doing on offense. You see that infusion here with Josh McDaniels. He should be able to get that team off the ground. You have one of the best, if not the best, wide receivers coming over from the Green Bay Packers. But having said that, this is a Chargers game here. I would be really surprised. And again, we're not talking about a college football spread, Kevin, 17.5 points. This is a 3.5-point game that I would be shocked if the Chargers don't cover this game. I really would be.
It's a good point in terms of respect being offered towards Vegas, though in the scope of how we describe the AFC West, it makes sense. But if you're doing your typical home field advantage math, they view these teams, according to this, pretty similarly, which is an interesting notion, though it wouldn't surprise me if that game features a lot of Raider fans in the building, all things considered. So one more game I wanted to bring up here. It's a very important game. I could argue it's the most important game on the Week 1 slate. It's the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are a team that have had a very, very odd offseason because they kept Aaron Rodgers, which typically should automatically label your offseason as a rip-roaring success. But Davante Adams, well, he's on the team that we just talked about in the Vegas Raiders. There's a lot of folks that think Minnesota can unseat Green Bay. I still don't know if I land ultimately on that side. That is how tough this is to call. The Vikings are plus 240 to win the division. That number, Donnie, is a lot bigger than the plus 108 money line. But who in the world likes the Vikings to win this division and does not like them to win game number 1 against the Green Bay Packers? Because if Aaron Rodgers does what he always does, and that feels like beat up on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, I'm sure somehow the numbers will say that he's 500 against Kirk and the Vikings, but it certainly doesn't feel like it to me. If you don't like the Vikings here in Week 1, I'm not sure how you like them long term in the division. It's a huge game and will impact that race massively.
It is going to. Doesn't it feel like a referendum game here for the Minnesota Vikings? They win this, you say to yourself, well, they're supposed to win it because they're a good football team. But if they lose it, Kirk Cousins stinks, blow this team up, they can't win it, everybody's on the deadline trader, right? Because you're looking at Aaron Rodgers on the road without his true weapons here. Now, it is game 1. They've been planning for this for months. This isn't as if they just show up on Sunday afternoon, Kevin, and say to themselves, what happened to my wide receivers? They know it's built in. They'll run the football a little bit more. But this is more of a game looking towards the Vikings. Because if Kirk Cousins comes out of the chute game 1 and plays well with those weapons on the outside, Dalvin Cook healthy, who can really get off on the AstroTurf and get after it, I expect them to win this football game. They're getting 2.5. They're an underdog. But I'm coming into this not with the anticipation where, let me see what the Packers do. I'm expecting the Vikings to win this. Because if they don't, the rest of the season, you're just looking at them as the same old Vikings. Now, if they win game 1, there's no necessarily guaranteeing that the Minnesota Vikings win that division. There's a long way to go. But doesn't it feel, as you said, if they lose Week 1 to the Packers, they got no shot to win this division. And they're only 0-1.
The Packers right now are minus 155 to win the division. With a win, I think they're above minus 200. With a loss, minus 120 in the division. It's going to be on the move. That's how impactful this game is. Also, I think the Packers are maybe the most interesting prop team on the board Week 1. The back-to-back reigning MVP does not have Davante Adams. What does this offense look like? What does Week 1 look like? Man, can't wait for it. But up next, Major League Baseball preview.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Blue, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
The morning
You
after.
see their odds to win the division? They will certainly be a playoff team one way or the other, probably hosting in that opening round. What do you give for St. Louis's chances, DRS, of making a deep run come October?
Looks like the Cardinals are playing their best baseball right now. And if we're going to get pitching, particularly from their starting frontline pitchers, anywhere close to what they're doing now, they have a legitimate chance because they have those power arms in the back end that I got to tell you again, that 1 through 9 they run out
The
there.
Sports Grid Network. The early line.
It's fair to say that this is the most impressive thing he has been able to do as a member of the Chicago Bears.
It does pique the interest. And also, we can always make jokes on the Chicago Bears because, quite frankly, I don't think they're going to be a very good football team this year. But I have prefaced that, Kevin, by saying it's not going to be Justin Fields' fault. The only fault it's going to be is if they can protect him, and if he feels like he needs to be Superman, does that mean running a little bit more than he should be doing?
Only on Sports Grid.
Major League Baseball preview time right here on Sports Grid. Excited to get into this slate. There's a couple of really, really fun matchups here to break into, including Guardians-Orioles. I know, if I would have told you preseason, hey, man, it's about to be September, we're breaking down Guardians-Orioles, a lot of people would say, man, you better have a good angle in this game. This game has juice right off the bat. This is massive for the AL postseason race. Quantrill is a favorite at home, about minus 160. Total here is an 8 against Watkins. What are you seeing in Cleveland and Baltimore?
Yeah, total. Maybe staying towards the under today. How about that between Baltimore and
Okay.
Cleveland? If we take a look at Quantrill over the past 30 days, Kevin, XFIP number around that 4 range, which isn't fantastic. Strikeout percentage, you'd like it to be higher, above 20%. It's not. But how about his splits here? Quantrill's a right-handed pitcher, Kevin. The left-handed batters over the past month, a 252 weighted on base percentage to righties, a 193. Now let's flip it over and take a look at the other matchup here, which would mean the Baltimore Orioles on the mound here with Spencer Watkins. Got a 4.49 XFIP. A little bit higher than you would like, but take a look at his splits here to lefties, which it looks like he's going to face about 4 of them tonight. A 321 weighted on base percentage, which is below average, which is fine. And you take a look at his ISO power number at 159. But to right-handed batters, who he's faced 63 of over the past month in Major League Baseball, a 234 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 051. two of these teams, which I say, not the haves and the have-nots, right? Two of these teams looking to make the playoffs, so technically halves. So usually we play this out like a playoff game where both teams really need this and generally stays toward the under. So it's listed at an 8. It takes a 9 to beat us, and I don't think they get there.
Coming into this set here, Cleveland is only 1.5 up on the Minnesota Twins, who took a game off for the Boston Red Sox last night. They're up by 5 on the Chicago White Sox. For Baltimore, 2 back of the Toronto Blue Jays, who squeaked one out against the Chicago Cubs in extras last night. So again, both of these teams really battling for position here overall in the AL postseason race. The Cardinals are back at it against the Reds. They attacked early and often yesterday in that game against Cincinnati, St. Louis, and they're going to hope to do so again. Total is a 10 spot on this board and a minus 215 favorite for St. Louis on the road. The Cardinals team total here is a full 6 right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Is that where you're looking in this game?
Yeah, there's going to be runs, and St. Louis is going to do a lot of damage tonight in this game. What was the game? I think I said yesterday St. Louis had a chance to get the team total, I want to say by themselves, or should I say the game total by themselves, which they did yesterday. They might have the opportunity to do that again today. Now, you aren't getting any benefits here with the team total listed at 6, which means it takes 7 runs in a Major League Baseball game to win, but they did score 13 times last night. Take a look at Donnie on the season, or particularly just the last 30 days, Kevin. An xFIP above 6 doesn't strike anybody out, walks too many batters, ground ball percentage below 30%. And also, I love these splits when they get down to it. 48 batters done his face from the left-hand side over the past month, a 402 weighted on base percentage. To right-handed batters, a 369. Also, couple that with a 424 ISO power number to righties. Again, when we look at this team for the St. Louis Cardinals, so much fun to handicap if you're in the business of hitting totals and team totals. For 6 guys in the lineup today, which is Newport, Donovan, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Dickerson, O'Neill, Gorman. Actually, we'll include 7 batters here. 465, 416, 453, 466, 441, 376, and 329 right off the bat versus right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. They'll do damage early and often. Run line first 5 innings, run line full game for the Cardinals, team total for the Cardinals. They all make some sense to me.
Is this the Dinger Tuesday spot, or do you need more juice from the other side of the field? Yeah. What do you think?
I don't think I need any other juice because you're also going to get a full 9 at-bats no matter what happens here because they are the road team. But if you're looking at ISO power numbers, right, Kevin, 175 or higher is very good in Major League Baseball. And we take the splits away from Dunn over the past 30 days, 256 to lefties ISO power number, which is way elevated. And I just told you, the right-handed batters, Kevin, a 424 ISO power number. If you're lining up these same Cardinals that we just talked about, again, 175 is where you want to be. 328, 290, 362, 216, and 234 right off the bat. Small ballpark there. It should fly tonight in Cincinnati.
No doubt about it, then. Certainly something we need to be taking a look at. Another game people will be taking a look at is Toronto versus Chicago. The Blue Jays home once again as an above minus 200 favorite with Kevin Gausman on the mound. He's going up against Marcus Stroman. Total for this one is an 8. Again, the Blue Jays able to squeak one out in extras against the Cubs last night. A win is a win, but the last time that this team covered a run line, factoring in all of their losses to the Angels, by the way, they were laying 1.5, trust me, in those games, was the first game of the series against the Boston Red Sox. So it's been a while since the Blue Jays have been able to run away with one. Do you think that could perhaps be in line tonight against the Cubs?
I don't know. Actually, for a line there, 225, it is pretty expensive, but you're going to get a pretty good pitcher on the mound against a dead team. So you would figure it's one of those halves, being the Blue Jays need it and the have-nots, with the Cubs not needing to do anything in this game, but just count down the days until they can hit the golf course. But more likely than taking a side, Kevin, I look at that 8, and I think this game also stays under the total. Let's just take a look at Stroman on the mound. He's got an xFIP of just under 4, which is okay. He's not a big strikeout guy. But as we know, when you try to line up pitchers against the Toronto Blue Jays, you better hope that they handle the right-handed batters. And take a look at Stroman, 58 batters, Kevin, he's faced from the right side here over the past month. 257 weighted on base percentage, ISO over 118. That's great because you're only going to get, one left-handed batter in the lineup here for the Toronto Blue Jays. Then if we flip it over to the Cubs, who I never really liked their lineup all throughout the season, Gausman's got an xFIP around that 3.8 percentage, which is decent. K percentage close to 30%. You'll take that each time, but his splits are always off the charts. Last 30 days, he's faced 122 batters, Kevin. 52 from the left-hand side, a 197 weighted on base percentage. How about to the right side? 70 batters he's faced at a 304, but also keep in mind, look at these ISO power numbers. To lefties, an 038, to righties, an 092. Again, takes 9 to beat me in this game. I don't think they get there.
Interesting spot. One thing I will say right now, the strikeout projections glistening on an under for Marcus Stroman in the 4.5. However, very expensive. It's a minus 158 towards that under. Patience. Maybe the juice drops. You hope throughout the day some people are betting over and opens that up a little bit more, makes that juice feel a little better on his under. Dodgers Mets. The excitement is, man, it's legit. Now, this is one of these spots that is very interesting to me, okay? Because Andrew Heaney is a minus 142 at Citi Field against Taijuan Walker. Now, if I didn't do this show, right, every single day with DRS, what is going on here? This is slander, disrespect, no. But I know that it's been a lot of Taijuan Walker starts in a row where you felt he could be vulnerable. Is that what we're seeing here right now? A fade of Taijuan Walker despite being home here against the Dodgers?
That's exactly what we're seeing here, because if you take a look at Taijuan Walker, who we expected many more bigger things here in 2022 than we've gotten out of him, particularly over the last 30 days, which seems like you're right. Every time Taijuan Walker's start comes up, we sort of try to fade that way or say, oh, maybe it's a chance for the game to get over, or at least for the other team to get some base hits here. And I think that's going to be the case tonight. Over the last month, a 6.67 xFIP number, only 13% of the batters, Kevin, he's faced, he struck out. Ground ball percentage, 36%. The reason why we include ground ball percentage is if you're not getting balls hit on the ground, that's extra chances for home runs because the balls can't leave the yard, Kevin, unless they're in the air. But look at these splits. Horrendous. Left-handed batters, which you're going to get Freeman, Muncy, Gallo, Lux, and Bellinger tonight. A 433 weighted on base percentage against Taijuan Walker with a 345 ISO power number. Right-handed batters, Kevin, through 59 he's faced. A 360 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 176. It's elevated all over the place, and that's the last place you want to be when you're going up against the Los Angeles Dodgers here. I think the Dodgers hit early and get this done, because also if you take a look at like a team total, there's ways to take like a first 5 team total or first 5 total in the game. That might be the way to go, because you do want to avoid these two bullpens. They're very good, but I do think over those first 5 innings, the Dodgers are really going to get to Taijuan Walker.
All right, certainly something to consider. Taijuan Walker did see the Dodgers earlier in the year. This was in the very, very beginning of June. 5 2/3, 7 hits allowed, only 2 earned runs. I think the Mets would be happy with that kind of a performance tonight, but that Taijuan Walker feels like he hasn't been around for a while. So a very interesting game, and I'll tell you, tomorrow's, though, is a massive one because, and I don't want to run through another game preview. Yesterday we got some news on Tony Gonsolin, right? He's going to hit the IL, dealing with the forearm strain. We don't know how long it's going to be. There is a world, though, right, where the number 1 starting pitcher for the Dodgers in the postseason is Tyler Anderson. Tomorrow, DRS, Anderson lines it up against DeGrom. It's a great opportunity. Now, if these teams meet in the postseason, almost assuredly the Los Angeles Dodgers will have home field advantage. But it's a great chance for us to see how these pitchers line up against one another and how they're going to be booked.
Looks like we're heading into that minus 135 territory with some look-ahead lines for tomorrow, Kevin. So keep that one an option, which that's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, that's what I'm getting right now.
Where are you at on that? What's your reaction to that? That feels very light.
It looks a little light. It looks a little light. And also, look at the total. It's 7. So you figure it's going to be one of those matchups there. But if I'm going to get a full-steam ace on the mound against a Tyler Anderson, what happens if this flips back over to Dodgerland? Do we get is DeGrom a dog in that environment? How about that?
No. I don't think there is a single scenario.
Let's see where that
Jacob
ends
DeGrom
up.
could be home and be. It's one of those spots though, where I feel like if you are in the room, right, whichever one of those teams you put a plus price next to, people will be interested by, right? So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenario. But DeGrom minus 135 at home, boy, oh boy.
Who's betting it?
That's the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? That's who the LA Dodgers are. Because I don't think I've ever been able to. Maybe once you've been on this show and you're like, actually, I don't think this is a good spot for the Dodgers. Out of the 120 some odd games that they've played, we'll see if we can make it a second time. Still plenty more games to preview on this baseball card. Keep it here on Sports Grid.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. Pregame, pregame. Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Gam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
The morning
You
after.
see their odds to win the division? They will certainly be a playoff team one way or the other, probably hosting in that opening round. What do you give for St. Louis's chances, DRS, of making a deep run come October?
Looks like the Cardinals are playing their best baseball right now. And if we're going to get pitching, particularly from their starting frontline pitchers, anywhere close to what they're doing now, they have a legitimate chance because they have those power arms in the back end that I got to tell you again, that 1 through 9 they run out
The
there.
Sports Grid Network. The early line.
It's fair to say that this is the most impressive thing he has been able to do as a member of the Chicago Bears.
It does pique the interest. And also, we can always make jokes on the Chicago Bears because, quite frankly, I don't think they're going to be a very good football team this year. But I have prefaced that, Kevin, by saying it's not going to be Justin Fields' fault. The only fault's going to be is if they can protect him, and if he feels like he needs to be Superman, does that mean running a little bit more than he should be doing?
Only on Sports Grid.
Baseball preview rolls on. It is the early line on Sports Grid. Mariners, Tigers. You know what I got to tell you? It feels like it's been a while since a Detroit Tigers game hit the card. I mean, are we still, what's the test on? Is it still weighted on base average and ISO power numbers?
Let's go.
I mean, what's the test? Zeros across the board? Give the people what they need.
Actually, yeah, it's actually 1-1 across the board. So marked improvement over the length of the baseball season here for the Detroit Tigers. The last 30 days against right-handed pitcher. Let's see. Baez coming in with a stealthy 130 ISO versus righties and a 291 weighted on base percentage with a K rate of about 31%. Was that your sneak pick to start the season as an MVP?
I think that was yours. I'm pretty. Or was it?
Yeah.
Was that Brian behind the scenes? Maybe that couldn't have been me though.
Actually, I believe I went on with BSS early in the season, and he loved Javi Baez, so we'll go with that opinion at this point. Now, this game itself, it seems pretty cut and dry, Kevin. Kirby's on the mound today. He's been really good over the past month. 2.98 xFIP number on the last 30 days, a 30% K rate here. Walk rate, 2%. Take a look at these splits. Lefty batters, a 247 weighted on base percentage with an ISO of 033. Right-handed batters, a 300 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 059. Yes, we just talked about it here. I know you're a K-prop guy. If he's striking out 30% of the batters he's faced, take a look at this Detroit lineup and how it functions over the past month against right-handed pitching, just looking at the strikeouts alone. 35%, 27%, 31%, 21%, 28%, 30%. And hey, how about this Barnhart? Only 14%. Rips right back with Badu at a 33% clip. They don't put the ball in the play. They don't hit for power. They don't get on base. They strike out way too much, and that leaves it up to Manning on the opposite side. I'm going to keep it simple in this game. Seattle Mariners run line first 5 innings. I'm going head-to-head Kirby with that terrible lineup, and I think they can get a couple runs off of Manning tonight.
Minus 118 to lay that half a run in the first 5 there on the Seattle Mariners. And just a reference on that strikeout prop total you mentioned for Kirby, the number right now is 5.5 at minus 124. Don't be surprised to see that climb a little bit there based on not only the strikeout percentages that DRS mentions, but also some of the recent trends. 4 of his last 5 outings, he had 7 or more strikeouts. Not forget the 6 or more. So this is someone that has really been performing in that department with a juicy matchup. Could really jump off of the card there. Astros go up against the Texas Rangers. Framber Valdez is a favorite on the road at about minus 170. Lower total, though. 7.5 here. Whenever I see the Astros involved in a 7.5, I get interested. Then I remember they're the under team of the decade. What do we think here between Texas and Houston?
Yeah, underplays again in this game, too. Take a look at this. Framber Valdez, the left-handed pitcher on the mound for the Astros over the past month in Major League Baseball, 3.6 xFIP number, K percentage over 20%, but his splits are outrageous to lefties. Keep in mind, again, Valdez is a left-handed pitcher. 19 batters, a 145 weighted on base percentage, and an ISO of 0. So you figure something has to give, Kevin, right? Left-handed pitcher going up against right-handed batters, which he's going to face a lot of tonight. 91 right-handed batters he's faced over the past month in Major League Baseball, 287 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 086. He's really holding it down, should do the same. Now, Dunning isn't a great pitcher, a 4 xFIP, late K props, but take a look at this. He's been surviving, Kevin. Lefty batters he's faced, 307 as a weighted on base percentage through 62 batters. Right-handed batters he's faced, 54 of those, a 258 weighted on base percentage. And you're right. You look at the Houston Astros lineup, there's a lot of really nice names in there, but if you take a look against right-handed pitching over the past month, the only guys with ISO power numbers that are elevated, Bregman, Tucker, and Mancini. Everybody else has really struggled. So maybe we're looking at another under between Houston and the Astros, Houston and the Rangers today.
Gotcha. Something to certainly follow as well. The Valdez strikeout prop, it looks like an under, but the juice at minus 122, is it good enough? We'll see. Since the All-Star break, 6 outings for Valdez. He's gone over 6.5 4 times, including once against these Texas Rangers, striking out 8 batters. He's an interesting guy to follow on this board. The Royals up against the White Sox. We talked about the importance of this series for Chicago, as they are now coming off of being swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. If they're going to be in the mix here for this AL Central race, they have to put the results together against the Kansas City Royals. Despite the fact that they are favorites here, that is going to be a lot easier said than done, because I know that Singer, if memory serves, is a pitcher that you've been impressed by over the last 30-plus days, and Giolito right now is usually been a little bit more in terms of name recognition than actual results. What do you think about the White Sox, who enter this game as a favorite?
Yeah, White Sox need a win in the worst way. I'm just trying to get some updated looks here at this game. All right, so we'll take a look at the 7.5, and again, I'm leaning towards the under. This takes 8 to beat.
Wow.
And say, boy,
what is it,
baseball
April?
teams that maybe should be. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it right now, because if we're looking at the way these teams set up, Giolito's not a great pitcher, but he's got a 3.7 xFIP number, which is okay. Decent strikeout rate. But if we're looking overall to left-handed batters, he's faced 59, Kevin, a 315 weighted on base percentage, and an 059 ISO. That's very good. Now, it does get a little bit elevated here to right-handed batters. He's faced 57 of those, and that's at a 354. So, okay, maybe they can do damage. But take a look here at this Kansas City offense over the past month facing right-handed batters. It's been atrocious, Kevin. The highest guy on the team is Salvador Perez at a 325 weighted on base percentage. Everybody else, take a look at this. Keep in mind again, 325 is the average. 267, 246, 304, 219, 262, 267, 272, and 250. It's almost hard to be that bad. It's almost Detroit Tigers-esque bad. And then if we flip it over to the side we're looking at here, which would be the Chicago White Sox, where do we like them, Kevin? I say it every time. You like them against lefties. Just so happens Brady Singer's a right-handed pitcher, and his splits are phenomenal. 207 as a weighted on base percentage to lefties, 318 to righties. I see this game staying under the total. Just feels like some of these games, even though it's bad baseball teams, you expect maybe some fireworks late, but both these matchups don't look like we're expecting a ton of runs.
And I will say, Singer's had a lot of reps against the White Sox this year, 22 and a third inning, and he is pitching to a 2.01 ERA in those outings. He has had success up against them, and really Giolito has been not too bad. He's not been phenomenal up against these Royals, but in 10 innings, pitching to a 3.60 ERA. So success against some division opponents there for both of the starting pitchers. The Yankees and the Angels are back at it. Yanks won 5 in a row. They had 2 games left versus the Athletics. You thought, all right, you're going to grab a series, maybe you grab a sweep. They drop the next 2. You walk away with a split. Disappointing, but you flip it around. You're up against the Angels. It's a team you're going to be favored in and night out. You drop the first. You've now lost 3 in a row to really, really bad baseball teams, road or not. That is not what you do if you're trying to keep the momentum rolling. Yanks are going to have to start fresh. They are favorites at minus 180, but yesterday you told people, hey, I'm not sure they should be booked the way they were, and you were right. Same feeling today?
I mean, a minus 180 is a stiff price. You have the better pitcher on the mound, but let's take a look at the matchups and where this game is a little bit out of whack here. Mayers is on the mound. He is an xFIP that's high, Kevin, a 5.26 over the past month in Major League Baseball, but he's a decent strikeout guy, around 25%. Now, he has faced around, maybe 60 to 70 batters over the last 30 days, 269 as a weighted on base percentage to lefties and a 299 to righties, Kevin. So keeping those both down. Now, here's the interesting part, because I just told you, he's got a high xFIP number here. So you figure that sooner or later he's going to get dinged around. But look at this Yankees lineup. It feels so much like it's April all over again. Aaron Judge expected to be in the 2-hole today. Against right-handed pitchers over the past 30 days, he's been very good, a 254 ISO power number and a weighted on-base percentage of 415. But look at the rest of this lineup. Benintendi, a 300 weighted on-base percentage. Stanton, 303. Rizzo, 261. LeMahieu, 283. Donaldson, 290. Cabrera, 263. Trevino, 265. Kiner Falefa, 238. Where is the help? There's a lot of names in this lineup not producing anything at the plate. So it's crazy to think that the Yankees are supposed to be loading up right now with all those feel-good vibes and banging around bad baseball teams. They might be in another dogfight tonight.
So the Yankees lineup has, I feel like, now transitioned to this, Judge-only cap, right?
Feels
but
like
today, on a Tuesday, by the way, I'm not positive if we do have Dinger Tuesday. I haven't seen the promo up. We know last year,
I don't think there is.
Stop.
Oh, wait. Is it September? Does it end? When does it end, actually?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, though, they're convinced to pull it back up. But I feel like on Tuesdays, usually the Aaron Judge numbers are a little bit lower. But it also is the fact that this guy's been phenomenal. But we have, I'm trying to remember if this is the first one of the season. It might be. Under plus 200 for Aaron Judge today. Plus 190 to hit a home run. I know that when you were kind of doing home run derby on a day in, day out, it was rarely about the price, right?
Yes.
But out of curiosity, when you look at Aaron Judge's statistical profile, can you still justify betting him to homer at plus 190, or is that just nowhere near enough value?
It's not near enough value, but I think you do yourself a little bit of a disservice by saying, let me just take a look at who's priced appropriately and take those guys. You can't do that, because if you honestly say to yourself, the price is the price. If you think Aaron Judge has a good shot to homer in that game, you're going to bet it regardless of the price. Now, you would hope it to be higher, 250, 260, 270, or whatever it might be. But if it's plus 190 and the numbers check out, because Judge, as we said, 254 ISO, 415 weighted on base over the past 30 days against right-handed pitchers, and then you line up here against Mayers, he's got a 259 ISO against right-handed batters. So the matchup is in the plus mode for Judge. Even though it's plus 190, I wouldn't hesitate betting that number, because I do think Aaron Judge has a legitimate chance to homer.
Interesting spot to follow. Last game I think we'll get to. We maybe have time to get to a couple of others, but this is a really interesting one because there are just certain games that on the surface surprise you. And this is one of those for me. I know Zach Gallen is solid. Again, we've done far too many of these shows throughout the year to not understand that Zach Gallen deserves respect in the market. But the Phillies have been markedly better than the Diamondbacks for a lot of this season. The Phils just lost the first game of the series. Arizona, right? Playing good baseball. I understand all that. But Aaron Nola is the type of pitcher you want to back. Road or not, being able to do so against Arizona at minus 142 looks appetizing. Now, dig in for me. Is that what the numbers tell you today, that Aaron Nola is the way to approach this game and back to Philadelphia Phillies?
Yeah, he should be able to dominate, but it's one of those where you look at the Arizona Diamondbacks where you get a little frisky there when they go up against a right-handed pitcher because they can stack so many left-handed batters. But if you take a look at Aaron Nola, a right-handed pitcher, Kevin, over the past 30 days, he's faced 86 left-handed batters. Get this, a 204 weighted on base percentage and an ISO of 037. So not much doing there. Is this one of those games where you figure Aaron Nola, which I know you like being a K prop guy, you're going to get the best effort each and every night. It's very rare Aaron Nola goes down, I'm going to pitch through 5 2/3. He's usually well into the 6th, 7th, 8th, and even complete games into the 9th inning. So is this one of those where you just wait it out and say the Philadelphia Phillies are the haves in this game, the Arizona Diamondbacks are the have-nots? If these two guys duel 1-1 into the 7th and they both exit, the Philadelphia Phillies will then take the advantage at that point, or one would think here. Minus 142 price, the Phillies should win, but also I see that 7 number, Kevin. They exploded last night from the plate, both sides. I think it's a lot more tame tonight. So that first 5 innings, I think it's going to be a duel, 2-1 type feel.
Yeah, it makes sense there. Total is a 7 with good pitchers on the mound. Let me just try and sneak this in. I know we don't have a lot of time, but Logan Webb is a guy with the San Francisco Giants at home you would think more often than not would be favored. Is the fact that you see the Padres favored right now in San Francisco a lot to do with the fact that Blake Snell has just been absolutely revitalized and really unhittable now for at least a month of baseball?
That's all it is. 276, xFIP over the past month. Absolutely freakish numbers between lefties and righties. He's got that mojo going, and it's a pitcher's ballpark. He's not going to give up a lot tonight.
Yeah, last outing for Snell was not clean, but everything beyond that has just been fantastic for the Padres for really a good while now. Certainly a big game to follow. All right, before you go anywhere, make sure you listen up. Donnie will close out the early line.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top 4 seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play less.
Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like
Fantasy Sports
the
Today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
That's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game
Penguins.
time decisions.
Kind of bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live, all
like
access.
I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy can win the game, take it 4.5.
In-game live, prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live, overtime.
All done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
Disappointing because of the lack of offense in times, including striking out a ton. The highest K rate against righties all year long in Major League Baseball at nearly 27%. In the last month, the second highest at 26%. Now, Frankie Montas has not gone over his strikeout prop today of 6.5 since joining the Yankees, but it's plus money against the highest striking out team in all of MLB, over 6.5.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
I think it's absolutely reasonable to think that the positive COVID test that ultimately came for Drew Lock cost him the chance at this job. Eliminating a week of action and perhaps was a little off-platform going into this game against Dallas. But honestly, as someone that said the entire way Drew Lock should be the Week 1 starter, after this performance here, more than understandable, to me at least, why they gave the nod here to Geno Smith.
Only on Sports Grid.
Sports Professor Rick Harrell with your Sports News Minute. Last preseason game. But here's an interesting anomaly. These two teams play in the same stadium. Chargers and the Rams do it in L.A. But why are the Giants, according to Forbes, number 3 value in the league, about 14% increase, nearly $5 billion. Yet the Jets, number 8 in the league, about $4 billion. Well, what's the difference? Especially because the revenue is shared about 85%. Television, tickets with every team in the league. What's the disparity? Maybe because the Jets haven't won since Namath days. Maybe because the Giants have won twice with Super Bowls? Maybe because the Giants are the long-standing legacy. I've been here first. Who knows? Value is only what somebody pays for it. These guys aren't ready to sell. Bottom line again, games aren't won in the boardroom, they're won on the field.
All right, last segment of the day here for the early line on a Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, September right around the corner, Sirius XM channel 159, right here on the Sports Grid Network. Now, before we hand it over to the morning after with Ben Stevens, and I do believe OK Dub is joining him for the first few segments, so make sure you stay there. We talked about a lot this morning. Major League Baseball just got done, a nice little card here, nice mix of overs and unders here. We actually previewed week 1 of the NFL season. Got our feet wet there with some of these moving lines and just that anticipation of next week of what's to come. But before we get to week 1 in the NFL, today's a big day in the NFL. It's cut day, so listen up. Dreams can come true and dreams can be shattered today. Why is that? The NFL has to cut their rosters from 80 to 53 by 4 p.m. Eastern. Now, we're already seeing some of the ramifications out there as Philip Lindsay has just been released by the Indianapolis Colts, who saw O.J. Howard get cut, Sony Michel from the Miami Dolphins, and on and on. You're going to see some big-name, older free agents get released today, which every team is going to figure. Let's go pick those guys up. Let's fortify our team, and off we go into week 1 of the NFL season. Now, as I said, dreams can be shattered, particularly overnight at this point. Some of these guys will never play football again, but if you do make that 53-man roster, you are in elite company, and I cannot wait for the NFL regular season to start. We're excited this week. Don't get me wrong, with the Sports Grid Network for week 1 of the college football season after an exciting and anticipated week 0. You got some big names out there. You got some big teams getting after it. You got football on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday before finally we start to set that table for the NFL season, as we previewed this morning, talking about the Rams and the Buffalo Bills, and those Bills as a slight favorite of 2.5. But a lot of names will shake loose today. Your team isn't winning or losing a Super Bowl based on who gets released today and who you pick up on the waiver wire. Just remember that. But football season now seems like it really is official in the NFL. Thanks for spending time with us here on the early line. Make sure you tune into next, Ben Stevens and the morning after, right here on the Sports Grid Network.